think we all are glad with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things has done, in whom his word rejoices, who from our mother's arms has blessed us on our way with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today. Oh, may this bounteous God through all our life be near us, with ever joyful hearts and blessed peace to cheer us, to keep us in his grace, and guide us when perplexed, and free us from all ills of this world in the next. All praise and thanks to God, the Father now be given, the Son and Spirit blessed, who reign in highest heaven, the one eternal God, whom heaven and earth adore. For thus it was, is now, and shall be evermore. Amen. Next is far and near. Far and near. Yes. Huh? Oh. Okay. Okay, fine. Last song. Now think we all are God. Not thankful we are. Lift high the cross, and we'll do one stanza of it. Okay? Lift high the cross. Lift high the cross, the love of Christ proclaim, till all the world adore his sacred name. Come, Christian, follow where our Savior trod, our King victorious, Christ the Son of God. Lift high the cross, the love of Christ proclaim, till all the world adore his sacred name.
We can proceed with the next program. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sabbath.
Morning.
Welcome to our Sabbath School of JAERIM 2018. So this morning for Sabbath School, we have 4 testimonies which will be given to us by Michael Jenkins, Handel Smith, Johannes Malulecki, and Brian Bissell. And during this time, we will have the 4 testimonies, and in between the second and third, we will show a video. After the testimonies, we will invite the audience to ask any questions that they may have for a Q&A session. So without further ado, let's start with our first.
All right. To get started, my PowerPoint's actually a little bit dark, so if we could, someone could help me out and turn down the lights up on the stage here. 3 minutes? Okay, we'll have to go pretty quick here. All right, so my name is Michael Jenkins, and I work in a public school system as an English teacher for elementary. And one of the things that I love space. But I love space the same way I love the ocean. I don't want to go into the ocean the same way I don't want to go into space. It's scary, it's dark, it's big. But one of my great passions is writing, and I've been trying to do a project that I call the Project Dark Matter, where I am writing, it's a blog, and I'm not going to tell you about it because it's not relevant to what we're talking about today, except that because of doing this blog, I started researching things into space. And I found some crazy, crazy things that just absolutely blew my mind. And they, again, every time I come back to this, I find something new and amazing that God has presented to us in the heavens. But unfortunately today I can only tell you about one of these 2 things. It's a very short time. So we have an interstellar road trip, or the odds of life, the universe, and everything. So if I could get you guys to participate by raising your hands. We can only do one of these, so we have to choose. An interstellar road trip. Please raise your hand if you want to hear that one. Okay, so we got 2, 3, 4. All right, and the odds of life, the universe, and everything. Okay, that looks like the majority, so we're going to go ahead and start there. Okay, I hate math. I'm going to start with saying that right now. I absolutely hate math. I'm terrible at it. That's why I teach English. But math is a universal language, and I believe it's one of the most foundational languages, and God speaks this language. So we're going to talk about a few things. A quote from a person that I disagree with on a lot of points, but certainly is biblically relevant. Neil deGrasse Tyson has said that the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you. This is absolutely true, and I think God would say the same exact thing. But God is invested in teaching us about it. So we're going to talk about some small statistics. Because we're talking about odds here, it's important for us to know the odds of certain things happening. Now, there was a famous study done about Jesus and the prophecies that he fulfilled. And so we're going to start with this as a baseline. The odds that Jesus fulfilled 8 common prophecies is 1 times 10 to the 17th power. This was done, I forget the name of the gentleman, I didn't include it. But he was very generous in coming up with this statistic. Meaning that he underestimated the possibility of Jesus fulfilling these prophecies. So if it was going to lean in any favor, it was going to lean against Christianity. Not that he was against Christianity, but he wanted to make sure that the statistics were fair. So we're looking at a pretty big number there. You can see I wrote it down in yellow there. That's 1 in, let's see, that's million, trillion, billion, quadrillion. 100 quadrillion. So that's a pretty big number. Let's look at another thing. The estimated number of planets in the universe, based on what we can see in the observable universe, is something like 10 to the 24th power. Another huge number. Now, we talked about 8 prophecies. What about 16? Now, the difference you see here is that we've added 8 prophecies, but the number is not, 32? 34. Because every time you add a new number, a new possibility, it goes up exponentially. You have to times it by that number. So what we find that Jesus fulfilling 16 prophecies is 10 to the 48th power. The estimated number of atoms in the universe is 10 to the 82nd power. So if we counted every single atom that exists, based on what we project, It's a really big number. I'm not writing that. Chances of Jesus fulfilling 48 prophecies. 157,000, almost twice as many atoms as there are in the universe. It's a huge number. I'm not writing it down for you guys, because I wouldn't have room on the slide. The point here is that the chances of Jesus fulfilling all these prophecies are bigger than any numbers we have. The odds of Jesus being who he says he was is astronomical. So, does anybody know how many prophecies that they estimate there are that Jesus fulfilled? More than 300. This is just 48. Imagine what kind of a number we're looking at there. Okay, so actually let me back up. This next slide I'm going to talk about before we start. There's a gentleman who has been trying to figure out the odds of life evolving on planets for years, but the problem is we haven't found any, so it's hard to project any kind of number for that. And so I read an article, and this was a gem that I thought was worth sharing. We might have to wait 100 million years for it to fall into place just in a test tube, the life accidentally happening, Scharf said. Whereas on a planet scale, you've got 1 trillion test tubes. Even more than that. It's conceivable that, using this equation, playing these games, is hinting at a possible explanation for why we haven't seen life miraculously appearing in our laboratories. That there's some subtle thing that has to happen that really doesn't happen that often. And I'm reading this in my chair and I sit back and I'm like, yeah, creation! It doesn't happen very often. That's the sort of thing we're looking at. The answer to this seems fairly apparent to me. It's something that doesn't happen very often, maybe not so subtle though. Now, we talked about the odds of life, we talked about the odds of Jesus being who he said he was, and fulfilling those prophecies. Now I'm going to talk to you about something interesting. And this came, something also interesting rather, this came after I asked a very strange question. So, who knows what a Schwarzschild radius is? Nobody. Okay, so let me tell you. If you take an object and you don't change its mass, but you squish it down, eventually it gets to a point where it will collapse in on itself and create a black hole. That point is called the Schwarzschild radius. So with this idea of creating the universe with a Big Bang, what we're told is that all the mass, all the matter in the universe is condensed into a single point. That single point is spinning really, really fast, and then it explodes, and then we have everything. Well, the basic question is, why didn't the Big Bang, before it became the Big Bang, turn into a black hole? You have all of the relevant information you need to create a black hole. Why didn't it happen? And the best answer I could find is because it didn't. The scientific community doesn't really know. But they do know something else. There's a huge problem with the black hole in that it's the way that it expanded has to be very specific. If it expands too slow, you get the red line at the bottom. Universe explodes, but expands too slow, it comes back into itself and becomes a black hole. You get the beyond the green line is if it expands too fast, then we don't have any materials forming. We just have this gaseous cloud that was created. But in this knife-edge space, in between those two things, we can have an accidental universe. The difference, if you look at these lines, the numbers are exactly the same except for 1 gram per cubic centimeter. And this is their estimate, not mine. 1 gram per cubic centimeter of the density 1 nanosecond after the Big Bang. It's so impossible that this would happen by accident that it blows my mind to think that you could ascertain that this happened accidentally. What is remarkable is that the amount of fine-tuning, it's an important phrase from these people here, that needed to occur so that the universe's expansion rate and matter and energy density matched so well so that we didn't either recollapse immediately or fail to form even the basic building blocks of matter is something like 1 part in 10 to the 24th, which is the same number of estimated planets, by the way. Which is kind of like taking 2 human beings, counting the number of electrons, and finding that they are identical within 1 electron. It's beyond statistical probability that this happened exactly as intended. Psalm 19, 1 and 2. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day uttereth speech, and night unto the night showeth knowledge. The more I look outside of this planet into the heavens, the more I find evidence that God created all of this, the less I believe that this happened by accident. And so I leave you with this, Psalm 19, 1 and 2. The heavens declare. They don't need any help. If we just look, we'll find evidence of God's creation. Thank you.
Amen.
Due to the interest of time, we have to cut it short by one speaker, so the other three speakers, Handel and Johannes and Brian, will have to reserve their speeches or their testimonies in the evening. Okay, does anyone here have any questions for Michael about his presentation? We have a short Q&A session. Okay, looks like pretty much we're still, we understand, right? Okay. All right, I think pretty much she has explained it, so there is no need for question. Because, yeah, it looks like nobody is raising their hand. All right, but I find that information rather unfathomable, very interesting. All right, so we are going to divide into our Sabbath school discussion time until about 10:40. So we have two Sabbath school teachers. One is for visitors, and that will be Salim Serrano. Doesn't seem to be around here. Yeah, he's in the back. So Dr. Salim Serrano will be your Sabbath school teacher for any guests. And the rest of it will be by Jessica. If you could raise your hand, Jessica. She will be your Sabbath school teacher for today. So we will recess, yes? And lesson?
What?
Okay. All right, I think you was. So yeah, we will have two Sabbath school teachers, one Celine and one with Jessica. So we will meet here by 10:40. So.
Yeah, announce the room.
I'm sorry?
The room.
I'm not sure what rooms. Jehua.
B1 or 2, which is right here.
Okay.
And then Jessica, it might be, I guess, one.
Okay, so those who are joining Salim's class will be in B102, just around the corner, and upstairs, just follow Jessica and she will lead you to her class. Thank you. Okay, how many members are you anticipating? Dismantle it. 3 or 4. Okay, well, you can help me dismantle it. I think they said that. Sorry? Okay, let's do it. It's okay.
We will continue a little bit later. Thanks for watching. If you like it, leave a message.